Hi there, this is Saul Sharon from Saul Sharon Films, and welcome to another video. I've watched a couple of videos in the community on an A to Z challenge by Huck's Pop Culture Cafe, a channel I'm not really familiar with, but James over at 20th and 21st Movies, he did a response to that challenge. So I thought I would do one just for fun, but as most people who seem to be doing it obviously feature English language films on their channels, I thought I would do it, but only non-English language films. So it's basically a film for each letter of the alphabet. I know I did a series a couple of years ago about possible my favourite films A to Z, but it wasn't certainly just one film. I mean, it is a bit daft, but if you had to just pick one film, some letters are harder than others. The letter S and the letter T are absolutely brutal. If you think all the classic non-English language films beginning with S and T, you'll quickly get an idea. So I thought I would just do a video for a laugh, but do it a little bit differently. So non-English language, A to Z. So for the letter A, Army of Shadows. Again, I need to get the Criterion individual, because every time I talk about Army of Shadows I just bring up the box set. Obviously every film in this box set is wonderful, but Army of Shadows for the letter A. For the letter B, I'm going to go with Chabrol's Le Boucher from 1970. Arguably my favourite Chabrol. Just a wonderful countryside tale of murder and school teachers. For C, Come and See, the greatest war film ever made from 1985. One scene never forgotten. Obviously you can play along at home, because it is bizarre, because some of these choices are probably actually fairly obvious for like world cinema hits, which is quite surprising, and there's a few from one director, but can't really help myself on that. D is La Diabolique by Clouseau, a template film, ripped off so many times but never been bettered. For the letter E, it's Eyes Without a Face or Les Yeux Sans Visage, Georges Franju's haunting, dreamlike, poetic, taking the face off young women film. It's right up there in my favourite taking the face off young women films. The letter F, Le Faux Follet or The Fire Within by Louis Malle. One man has 24 hours to decide whether or not to kill himself, so he goes and hangs out with his quote unquote friends to see if they can rekindle the fire within. Obviously you'll have to see whether he does or doesn't, but I really like it, so that might give you a hint. For G, again, might be predictable, La Grande Illusion, Jean Renoir's World War I film, which is really about all wars. H, there's a few choices in H, but I went with Hanabi by Kitano. Obviously there's a Kobayashi film that you could pick quite easily. I went with Ikiru, Again, I is deceptively difficult. There's quite a few non-English language classics beginning with the letter I, but I went with Kurosawa's seminal film from 1952. JSA, my favourite Park Chan-wook film, Joint Security Area. Just an amazing film. Why can't we just get along? K, Kwaidan, Kobayashi, this lovely Eureka hard box set. L, Last Year in Marienbad by Rennie, a film that's wonderfully open to interpretation, still one of the greatest edited films of all time, in my opinion. Just beautiful black and white cinematography and devastating editing. M, a film that I've talked about ad nauseum in the channel. Everybody's probably sick of it, but never mind. My American Uncle by another Alain Rennie. An absolute masterpiece that will make you think of your life and what you're doing with it. For all the people who think they're unique, watch this and you'll realise your behaviour is not unique. N, I've went with Herzog's Nosferatu the Vampire from 1979 with Klaus Kinski and Bruno Gantz. Almost forgot his second name. Just very much like Agira, Wrath of God, who could have been the letter A. Dreamlike, hypnotic, haunting, strange, but absolutely marvellous. One of the best remakes ever made, or reimaginings. For the letter O, I've went with another film that I've talked about, The Organizer by Mario Monicelli, starring a very different Marcello Mastroianni. This has everything. Laughs, tears, drama, excitement, politics. All about a textile factory in Turin. I mean, what more could you ask for? And a recommendation by John Sayles, so it must be good. And it is. P, Pickpocket by Bresson. Q, which is quite difficult just because there's not that many films beginning with Q. But I went with The Quiet Family with Kim Ji-woon, or the kind of black comedy original of The Happiness of the Katakuris, which Miki made into a claymation zombie musical extravaganza. This is the kind of more serious black comedy with Kim Ji-woon, starring a few of your Korean favourites. R was pretty difficult, but predictably I've went with Ran. Now S was brutal. S is pretty brutal when you think of the world cinema classics beginning with S, from Bergman and Tarkovsky and many others. But predictably, I went with Seven Samurai, my greatest hits, another template film, and if I only had one S film in my collection, as if that would ever happen, Seven Samurai would be it. But that was difficult. And T wasn't much easier. T was pretty brutal as well. But I went for Trois Couleurs Bleues by Sheslovsky. Just perfect in every way, shape and form. But again, the letter T is difficult. The letter U, slightly easier. Ugetsu by Mizoguchi. Again, beautiful, haunting. Simple but effective. V, Tsukamoto's Vital. My favourite Tsukamoto. One of the great meditations on life, death, the universe and everything. On a shoestring budget, as usual for Tsukamoto. W, slight cheat I suppose, World of Apu, even though it's Apu Sansar and there is no Indian, but it's World of Apu, so I'm sneaking that one by. The final part of the Apu trilogy finishes it on a beautiful, bittersweet note. X, which, as you'd imagine, is quite difficult, but I'm going to go with the Space Chicken film from Japan from 1967, The X from Outer Space. It's a lot of daft fun. Might put you off chickens. Why? Yojimbo. It just happened that there seems to be about 4 Kurosawa films on out of the 26, but again, it's Yojimbo. And for Zed's quite difficult as well. But just for laughs, I went with Zapang from 1990, which is a barking, futuristic, but also samurai film, a fantasy epic that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's very colourful and wonderful to look at. So that's my alternative A to Z challenge. I might actually do another one of these just for a laugh, using a different template as far as choices go. So I hope you enjoyed this little bit of frivolity, but please leave your A to Z's in the comments below of non-English language films, and we'll see what your lists look like. So thanks very much for watching. I'll leave the links to Huck's Pop Culture Cafe if you want to check that out, and 20th and 21st movies. I think Basement Blues also have done a response video. And hopefully join me again for more videos. This is Saoirse Ronan from Saoirse Ronan Films, saying farewell.